Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Marte. I come from Norway and I love makeup, especially indie makeup and sparkly makeup. And today I'm going to fix this palette. I just ordered this palette from Salem Cosmetics because it was a... Well, I should probably hold this my way, right? Because it was a collab with Sminkberoende, and she's a Swedish creator. I admire her so much. She has amazing makeup skills and she does so many amazing looks, and this palette that she created with Salem Cosmetics looks so beautiful. Just look at this color story, it's so gorgeous. But they said they had some issues with the manufacturer because a lot of the shimmers just arrived broken for a lot of people, and I totally understand that that is so upsetting for the customers and of course also the brand and Sminkberoende, Natalia. But I just wanted to show you guys how to fix this because it's actually not that hard to fix broken shimmers in a palette. So that's just what I will be doing this video. All you're gonna need is something in the same shape as the pans, basically. This one is a Juvia's Place concealer. I also have other products like this Glam Shop eye base. I also have the Made by Mitchell blush. They are almost the same size as well. As long as you're very close to the same size, you're good to go. So you're of course going to need that. And as you can see, there is some shadow here on this. This is like the what do you even call it, like the plastic sheet that comes within the palette to protect it. So of course you're gonna need something to like push the shadows into the pan. So I'm just going to use this spatula. This is from C Palette, but you can get this super cheap off of AliExpress or Wish or other kind of websites. Also, you don't need to have a spatula. If you have something, either a palette knife for painting, if you just have some, I don't know, just like the edge of a knife, whatever will help you drag the shadows back into the pan, that's what you need. So I guess I can just start with this green one. Of course you are going to lose a little bit of product, but for me that's not that big of a deal because it's very minimal what you're going to lose. So we're just going to go ahead and clean up this palette and make it look hopefully as new. And I will just mention that if the problem with these shadows is that there is too little binder, that will say like the oil that makes it stick together as an eyeshadow, these might be fragile after having pressed them dry, which is what I will be showing you. But you can also of course use alcohol. This is just I think it is 96% alcohol. You want the highest amount alcohol possible, and you could also add binder. I have an isopropyl myristate binder right here, and you just need one little drop and that's enough to make it adhere a bit better, and make it just, I don't know, a little bit less fragile, I guess. But I prefer my shadows dry, so if this won't keep getting messed up, I'd prefer to do it dry. So basically I think I will just be speeding through a bit because I'm just going to be placing the shadows back into the pans now. And I'm a little bit curious because I can see that this is like holographic, it's like a holographic finish to the palette, so I hope I'm not like scraping that off. Like, I don't know how well sealed that is. Now I'm just cleaning off the spatula with a tissue paper right here. This is actually toilet paper, but it does the job. I think I'll just scrape off all of the shadows first and then I will do the pressing. Just like doing it systematically will probably be a little bit faster. So again, I'm just going to speed through this process. So this is basically what's left on this sheet. It's not a lot at all. I guess I could do like a tiny finger swatch of them, but it's not a lot of product at all. So I wouldn't really be mad about losing this kind of product because it's barely anything. So right now you can see that this one has a little bit of the gold shadow on top of it, so I'll just have to think of a way to get that over here. I'll probably just use a brush. Yeah, so that's basically what's left, to just get as much product up into the pan as possible. And then of course in the end, after I've repressed everything, I will clean up around whatever I'm not adding to the pan. So I just took this brush, it's just a regular big blending brush. I'm just going to swipe very carefully over here because I don't really want to pick up the matte shadow, only the shimmer. I guess using a brush is also a good idea to just clean up around the edges here instead of just using the spatula, because scraping is not really the easiest to do. And you can see it's a little bit of matte on the brush, but not a lot. So I'll just use the other side of this brush and do the same thing here. Okay, so now I'm just going to take a tissue paper and I'm actually just ready to press. If you have alcohol, I think it's actually easier to use the alcohol because you can just like pour it in, mix the shadow, let it dry, and then you press the shadow. But since I want to make this like a little bit easier for those who might not have that, I'm just going to see if it actually works with this formula or if it's actually too dry that the manufacturer messed up the formula so that it's just not going to work either way. So we can just start with, maybe we'll start with this shade called Wings, just because it seems to be the most intact shadow. So I'm just going to press down, I'm going to put this down, and then I'm just going to feel with whatever tool you have, which is now a concealer in my case. You just have to like feel and find where is the shadow. And usually I try to find like the middle first. And you're going to want to press down quite hard. And I'm just going around the edges now. So I'm just lifting, pressing hard. Lifting, and then I'm moving it a bit, pressing hard. And you can see that this also has a lot of binder in it. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. Once it's pressed, it's probably going to stay put there. So I'm just going to go like around the whole pan. This is like to make sure that there's no shadow running up the edges. Might still be, of course. While I'm still at this, I think I might just press out a little bit more of the binder actually, because I prefer my shadows dry, as I said in the start of this video. This is also a technique I used on my Odin's eyeshadows because those had so much binder in them, they would just crease immediately. So I just did this and they suddenly lasted so much longer on the eye. You can see already this shadow looks almost new. I'll see if I can zoom you in a little bit. Yeah, so that's basically this one. You can of course continue pressing, either if you want to just remove more of the binder or if you just want to make it look more neat, because you can just look at it and see, okay, where is the shadow running up the edges, and then you can just press a little bit more on those sides. Just to kind of push it down from the sides. So that's basically it for all of the shadows, and then it's just like a standard cleanup with a cotton bud or some paper or whatever you have. So yeah, you can definitely see that this has a lot of binder, and I forgot to zoom you out again. So yeah, I'm not super picky about how it looks in the pan. I think it already looks really good. You can take a different paper just in order to keep it a little bit more clean. And then we're going to go over to the other shadow. So I'm just finding the middle, pressing down quite hard. You can see I'm almost shaking when I do it because I'm putting so much pressure on it. This already looks a bit drier than the previous one because you can't really see any staining on the paper. But I'm just moving it around, pushing down at the edges, making sure it's really tucked nicely into the pan. So you can see this one is a lot drier. I might need to put more binder in it if it breaks again, but right now I'm just going to make sure I apply a lot of pressure to really squish the shadow into the pan. Okay, so that's basically this shadow done. For this shadow, I'm just going to like pat down the shadow a little bit because I can just see that it's sticking up quite a bit. So it's always nice to just tuck it in a little bit so you have a little bit more control of where the pigment is in the pan to disperse it a little bit better. Putting the paper tissue on top. Oh, and you want to make sure you use the right edge because this one, it goes a little bit more down in the middle. You want something that's actually flat. If not, you're going to get the same imprint on your shadow. So just pushing down. And it looks so much better already. I can see that it's running a little bit up right here, so I'm just going to make sure I focus a little bit more there. Okay, so I did get a little bit of that purple on top because there was a little bit of the purple on the paper that I had, just because it was lying there while I was pressing here, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna swatch this later anyway. So now we actually just have this one left and the cleaning. Oh, it looks so much better already. I'm so happy. It's starting to just get more nice, neat, not pigment flying everywhere. Now I'm already really happy with how this is looking. I'm just going to be cleaning it up. I'm trying to use a dry cotton bud first, just because using alcohol and stuff on cardboard packaging can make it, you know, when cardboard gets wet, it starts to crinkle and it just doesn't look that good anymore. So I would try to avoid getting any kind of liquid or anything wet on top of the cardboard packaging. I'm just going to mention something I noticed quite quickly. It's when I clean the palette up, I am removing the holographic finish and I'm also removing the text. Honestly, there's nothing else I could have done because I'm doing it dry now. So what's loosening that up is actually the binder from the metallic shadows that have shattered. And of course, there's binder. Binder is usually oil, so apparently oil removes the text, so I'm not sure how much more I want to start rubbing to remove all of the green shimmer there, because I'm already like, I can't see what it is called. I think it was maybe Whimsical, but that's a little bit sad that I removed the text. So that's just a warning for you. If you're gonna do this, don't clean up just above the text because it will remove it. And obviously it looks a little bit weird that there is no holographic finish right where I cleaned off the shadows. So now I'm just going to take a cloth, just because I had it right here, and I'm just going to do this to make it look more neat. Okay, so this is how my palette is looking now. I'm really sad that the names were rubbing off, but other than that, I feel like it looks almost as good as new. There is a little bit stuck in between the pan and the cardboard packaging on some of the shades, but it's just to be expected, I guess. You could, if you're really picky, you could go ahead and like scrape it with either a needle or just like something sharp like this. I personally don't really care about that. It doesn't bother me at all. Yeah, so this was basically how I cleaned up this palette. And just to quickly sum up, you just have to get the shadow back into the pan, use a paper tissue, use something that is the size of the pan, and press really hard. Make sure you tuck in the edges just to get everything down from the edges. And just press it until you're happy with how it's looking. This is how it's looking for me. About this exact palette, you will rub off the holographic finish. You will also rub off the text on the shadows if you try to clean it up too much like I did here when I was starting out. So just be a little bit aware of that. I'm not sure how to prevent that because it's probably just the oils from it's like the binder in the shadows that was all over the place that I was trying to clean up. It also just wiped with it the finish of the palette and the text. I'm not really even sure if you can actually see the holographic finish on this palette though, so that is not really an issue for me. Just be like, if I would do this again, I would be really careful with the text and not clean too much above that because it will take it away. So I would rather have a little bit of extra shadow on top of that than to not be able to see the name of the shadow. Yeah, but this is basically it. I'll just have to like remove whatever kind of green I have on top of this pink shade. Yeah, so that's how I clean a palette. I hope that it was helpful for you just to see this. I know a lot of people already know how to do this, so if you didn't, I hope that it was helpful at least to just see how I would do it. I haven't really done this with a palette before, other than I think I did it in a video where I had a blush palette where I did it, but it is a little bit easier if you can remove the pads because then you don't have to worry about disturbing the actual cardboard palette itself. But anyway, that's it for this video. If it was helpful for you, I would love to hear down below in the comment section. Also, what do you think of this color story? I think it's so beautiful. I cannot wait to make a video on this and just to use the palette because I'm just so excited and inspired by this color story, and I feel like the artwork of the palette is also just so beautiful. You can see the forest heart here. But I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye!